Good morning. Oh, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels, and let me adjust this here. We're going back to. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. Excuse me, I can't brain today. I am your host, Tiffany Daniels. We're going to that horrible world known as the JRC, but before we do the usual disclaimers and just my usual autistic take of what the fuck is wrong with neurotypicals this week. Yeah. And of course, the usual disclaimers. So, what's my bitch this week? Okay. You all know I defend the drag queens out here, especially with the out and out lies the GOP is spreading literally everywhere throughout the entirety of the state, and how I like to back it up with receipts, right? We all know I do this. I defend them. They've done nothing wrong. Now, something's gone viral within the last couple of days here. An individual has brought up what are very, very fucking classic red flags in regards to a TikToker. Fuck it. His name's Jeffrey March. All right? As an individual with a disability who had hammered into her brain throughout the entirety of the fucking 90s, including during the DARE programs that schools used to have that were mandatory. You know the whole stranger danger thing, right? You remember that? Okay. As someone who has worked in the neurodevelopmental field as well as the mental health field, am I going to go shitting on someone for shits and grins? No. Am I going to sit here and lie to you and tell you that all parents have their kids' best interests at heart? No. But I'm also going to tell you this. Any random person who goes online and will do videos addressed specifically to kids, telling kids to not tell their parents. That's the sort of shit that I would have known as a kid was a massive red flag. Okay? It is what it fucking is. If you have an individual going out there telling individual kids whom they've never met, whose situations they know absolutely nothing about, that their parents failed, that's a fucking red flag. Because among all the child abusers and people who have kids of accessories, there are a good number of individuals who are good fucking parents doing the best they goddamn can. Okay? And then you have this individual telling them, trying to isolate them from their families. I've had this happen to me, folks. An individual and their relatives who took advantage of my grief when I was in my most vulnerable state when my dad died. We all know how that ended. Hand cut open, walking the streets of my city at 3 a.m. in the morning. Backpack on my back. Yeah. No. This is not okay. No, it is not okay to tell minors to go no contact with their folks or try to isolate them from their families. Are there some situations with individuals who are trans that are toxic as fuck? Yes, we're not talking about those cases. Because he wasn't speaking to a specific situation. He was speaking to literally everyone. I'm sorry, but I got a problem with that. Major problem. Okay? I have a major problem with that without denying the reality that there are some situations where you have individuals who should have never been fucking parents. Yes. But to go and make those statements out in general, to draw in kids, and then to encourage them to privately message you on Patreon after, taking their money. There's a lot of red flags. Okay? I'm sorry, but there are. Now, the individual who addressed these issues has now been harassed. Her children have been threatened. This is an activism, folks. Someone who's been an advocate for over a decade, this is not how this shit is supposed to work. That's not activism. It's called stalking. And having my share of stalkers, believe me, I know stalkers when I see them. Okay? It's not okay. You don't have to agree with this person, but at the very least you have to have, I don't even fucking know. Is there a moral spine anywhere anymore? Some things are not fucking okay in life. I can't believe we are in a point of time that saying so makes you the enemy somehow. Okay? There is a difference between individuals like this and the completely fucking innocent drag queens out here who are harming no one. They're not going on TikTok and making videos. They're too busy trying to live. And I also want to speak to the people on the right, using this incident to paint all the people of this community with the same brush. How are you better than them? How are you fucking better? You are the same individuals that dragged Matthew Shepard out and did what you did in the 90s. You don't actually care about what happened to this individual. You just want to use it as a reason and an excuse to go out and continue your hate and your fucking bigotry. Please spare me the bullshit. I've seen the comments. I've been watching this behavior since I was a kid. And you're also the same bastards that would turn on me with your insults and your bullshit and your pseudoscience because of, how I was born. I was having a conversation with Paul the other day. Folks, I don't know if you know this, neurotypicals, but two things can be right at once. This individual can be wrong and shouldn't be allowed to have children come to his TikTok. And the right can be wrong for using this reason to tar and feather all those that are different from them, even though they kind of don't need the excuse. Two things can be wrong at once. Just say. I am tired of sitting here and watching everyone just flying from the seam of their pants, allowing themselves knee-jerk reaction after knee-jerk reaction, and they wonder why the world is in the state that it's in. Us logical people or even math brain back there, we don't fucking get it. And yes, we discuss it amongst ourselves. We sit here and we watch you do it and make bad decision after bad decision, and you wonder why things are so bad.
I did a rant about it on Facebook yesterday, and it took me one paragraph. 2 full sentences was all it took to explain what the fuck is wrong with the world right now.
Nobody thinks. Everybody just reacts.
Well, it was a little more complicated than that, but it still was only 2 sentences.
You know what I'm saying? People need to start getting their heads fucking straight. Quit knee-jerk reacting to fucking everything. Okay? And I don't want either side fucking virtual signaling to me. Not a single one of you Republican bastards are standing up for the kids at the Judge Rotenberg Center or the Agape victims. But I haven't seen anything from the fucking left anywhere. Don't sit there, either side, and preach on inclusion and that you give a shit about us when you continue to sit there and do fucking nothing. And don't tell me you don't know. We've been trying to get you all involved for decades. All right. Rant over. Just as someone who observes the world, who as an autistic has this ability to take myself out of the equation and just kind of almost emotionlessly observing the world and just coming back more and more baffled every single day. Oh, but I'm the bad person because I preach about, learn critical thinking. Because I encourage people to think for themselves. To not just take people at their word. To think before reacting. You have an autistic here preaching to you about thinking before reacting. Yeah. You might want to rethink your life choices. All right. Now moving on. Now we kind of split where we were last week into halves because it's a long run-on sentence and I can only take so much stupid in a general sitting here. So, to the disclaimers. In the description box, you're going to find a link to the article that the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center doesn't want you to read. It's written by NeuroClastic, a small non-for-profit started by autistics for autistics, wherein they interviewed and surveyed over 900 ABA professionals regards to the JRC's so-called behavior modification program. Matter of fact, the JRC doesn't want you to read this article so much they have threatened NeuroClastic with a defamation lawsuit if they did not remove it from the website. NeuroClastic has refused, so folks, you know the drill. Please read that article and share it on all your social media. We also have linked in their NeuroClastic's public statement regards to the defamation lawsuit threat, as well as a link to their GoFundMe. We are crowdfunding in case those bastards have the balls to see through with their threat. We have the link to the Ozarks First article that is regarding the Agape boarding school, now known as Stone for Help boarding school situation. This is a so-called Christian-themed boarding school based out of Stockton, Missouri that takes in so-called troubled male teens that has and pending over 21 civil lawsuits, claims, and allegations leveled against it. Pretty much every single claim I have come across so far have been substantiated by the hard evidence gathered by the investigation done by the Missouri Department of Social Services, and they include the following: sodomy, rape, sexual assault, child abuse, psychological and emotional abuse, child trafficking, starvation, and that's just for starters. You have one former staff member arrested by the FBI, another a doctor who's still on the premises with full access to the boys, up on multiple counts of sodomy, rape, and sexual assault of the boys there. You have an attorney general too busy chasing drag queens who, by the way, folks, I fucking live here, chasing after drag queens who are literally having their one night a week and maybe they might do a voluntary reading at the public library. Ha, the horror, right? The poor horror. And you've got a governor who's just off his nuts. So please, folks, read the article, share it on all your social media. We got the other pertinent links to the Stop the Shocks campaign, including Autistic Hoya's massive archive on the subject, the templates, and the ever-present self-explanatory change.org Shut the Judge Rotenberg Center Down petition, Jennifer Masamba's behavioral sheet of shockable offenses, and a clip out of the 7-hour ordeal undergone by Andre McCollins back in 2002. When we discuss the JRC, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of people with disabilities being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, please use your headphones, all right? All right, and now for this disclaimer. Excuse me, I can't brain. I'm just so done with the fucking world, but I can't even tell you. I can't even tell you. I can't even brain properly because my brain shuts down at the monumental amount of stupid that's going on in our world right now. Ugh. This channel is marked not for children for a reason. We use profanity and we do speak on dark subjects. If your child is 16 and younger and they're watching this, parental supervision is very much advised. See, unlike that individual, I actually want the parents to get involved. I want conversations to happen because that's how fucking change works. But anyways, off my soapbox and to the trigger warning, we are about to once again descend into the mad ravings of the lunatic mind known as Dr. Matthew Israel. You're going to hear gaslighting, victim blaming, abuse and torture apologencia, pseudoscience, out and out lies. And all this is coming from a man with a massive ego and even larger God complex. So be prepared for the stupid, all right? I may reread some of the stuff that we went over last weekend. In my defense, I have slept since then. All right, let's move on here. Also, excuse me for any kind of weird throat noises. Spring came early and I'm kind of dying. JRC has responded to, starting from the end of last week's video. We read your response. It wasn't a response, doctor. What it was just a bunch of innate babbling. Trying to throw in big fancy words without context. Throw in your strawman arguments that crumble over the least bit of scrutiny. It wasn't a fucking response. It was a child responding to a taunt, maybe. I don't know. I don't know what the fuck it was, but it wasn't a response. I can get more of a logical, coherent, intelligent response by watching fucking foamy videos from Ill Will Press than I can reading this bullshit here. But anyways. INSEAD then used this support to support its proposed regulations, which called for the restricting and eventually the banning of adversives. Gee, horror, right? How horrible. Oh, for fuck's sake. The parents argued that the implementation of regulations would deny their children access to federally mandated, free, and appropriate public education that every special needs child is entitled to. As an individual who is very familiar with faith, doctor, what in God's fucking name do you think that torturing us makes us free for an appropriate education? Because it doesn't, doctor. When you are in fear of being hurt every fucking second of the day, when you're in fear of even breathing wrong in a way that they don't approve of, that you're going to be shocked at 85 MPa, how the fuck are they supposed to focus on studying? And let's talk about your educational program for a minute. You know, the one where you sit there and say, we're helping them be able to communicate with the outside world, but we won't let them have normal teacher-student relationships. We're just going to sit their asses in front of a computer where they can identify shapes like they learned in preschool. And then, 8 hours, 7 days a week, wrapping popsicles kits. Blah! I can't even... Blah! Popsicle sticks. Doctor, this is not an appropriate free public education. In fact, we know from witnesses and the New York report that you're not even accredited. When folks leave your hellhole, they don't even have the equivalence of a GED. Matter of fact, people like Jennifer Masumba, after leaving your hellhole, have to go and get that for themselves. So tell me, how is it an appropriate public education when it's not accredited? Because it isn't. The only thing the JRC is prepping us for is to be victims of other abusers and a lifetime of working for pennies on the dollar at the fucking workshops. That's it. That's fucking pretty much it. Also, a lifetime of psychological fucking trauma. That's not free and appropriate public education, not by anyone's standards, doctor. Also, for the individuals who are not being shocked, explain to me how my ass is supposed to fucking concentrate on my damn lesson when I have an individual being shocked, screaming, crying, being fucking tortured right fucking next to me. And if I don't ignore it and show even a shred of compassion for the poor victim, then I get shocked. How is anyone supposed to focus on a lesson when that's going on around them? For fuck's sake, I had problems as a child having a high school out by the road where I can hear a loud-ass Harley going by during the middle of class. Yeah. Hypersensory, hyper-fucking-hearing. Very fucking distracting. Now let's turn that to 11 with having to be aware always that you can be shocked and tortured at any time. The judge presiding over the case issued 2 injunctions prohibiting said from enforcing certain aspects of the regulations, which injunctions remain in place. By the way, what the fuck, Judge? As the individuals who are running the special education for their state and their students, what makes you think you have the fucking right to pass judgment on the students from a completely different state? New York has every fucking right to defend their students. Point blank fucking period. Period. You are a separate state, Massachusetts. You do not have the fucking right to pass your insanity on to these kids and sit there and try, well, we're the real authority. Who the fuck do you think you are? No, I'm sorry, but I need an explanation for this. They're not from your state. They are under New York Special Education Department. They have every right to pass those regulations. You, as a separate state, have no right to impose your insanity on them. None. None. I fucking can't. I literally fucking can't. I can tell you, folks, as someone who is directly descended from the Winthrop family, and yes, I do have papers to back that shit up, to see a city that one of my ancestors fucking founded and see how they treat people like me. It's fucking heartbreaking. Really is. It's a sucker punch to the gut every time I do these videos. As a result, the children of the plaintiffs in that case continue to thrive at JRC with continued access when needed to aversive interventions. No kid needs to be punished for how they were born, Dr. Karen. And as far as I'm concerned, if you're a fucking parent, you are signing on and drinking the Kool-Aid, your kids should be yanked from you. Period. Period. Okay? I don't understand why it is so hard for you people to grasp what you're seeing with your very own eyes. How can you watch that video of Andre McCullens and the other fucking students screaming and begging for mercy and sit there and tell yourself it's good and it's helping? How? How? Is there a special level of stupid that one just can't penetrate? I don't understand this just refusing. And this is not just JRC. This also applies to AH and her fucking cronies. I don't understand how you can sit there and have hard evidence presented in front of you and still go with the lie and actually believe it. I don't understand this. There's something really fundamentally fucked up with our world right now, where we have individuals that control these things on both the far right and the far left, that you can sit there and put hard, cold evidence right in front of their eyes and they will still ignore it and call you the liar. I'm sorry, evidence is evidence. Facts are facts. Okay? Now, I had somebody comment, speaking on this subject before we go here. When I asked, explain it to me like I'm fucking 5. Why is this concept of facts and evidence making me the bad guy? No? But you just can't apply that to every situation. There's different situations you don't know what's going on. No, fuck you. Okay? Fuck you. As someone who's an autistic who's pushing fucking 40, let me make it fucking brutal. Blunt, brutal, straight to the point. Facts and evidence don't lie, people do. Okay? People do. When you have clear evidence of what's actually gone on as opposed to what they're telling you, if what you're saying does not line up with the evidence at hand, guess what that means, folks? It means it's not true. And I'm not the bad guy for siding always with evidence and facts. I don't make gut decisions. I don't allow myself to make knee-jerk reactions to everything. I always process everything first, even if my inclination is to have a knee-jerk reaction. I still don't do it. I don't allow myself to do that. I make myself take a breath, look at the information at hand, and think. The fact of the matter is, folks, and I hate to say this, but you can't just take people at their word. In fact, this was drilled into our heads of the entirety of Gen X. Our motto used to be, trust, but verify. Listen, but be open to evidence as it comes. People didn't used to be demonized when an opinion might change due to facts and new evidence at hand. And if you want to know my opinion, that's what's wrong with the world. Everybody cares more about their agenda than they do about facts, evidence, due fucking process. When you have a situation like this, where you've had a video that's been out since 2012 of a young man being brutally tortured because of his disability, and we are still arguing about it in 2023. There's something wrong there, folks. There's something very wrong there. So what are we learning, other than my usual rants? We're learning how far a parent can fall down the rabbit hole. I'll say it's not news to me because I've been dealing with the anti-vax mommy TMs, well, ever since I've been diagnosed. To sit there and tell me, but the parents sued and won, and now they're getting free and appropriate education. Doctor, them drinking the Kool-Aid doesn't mean that that makes what you're doing right. I mean, if we use that logic for like the Jim Jones situation and sit there, but their parents, brought them into it, so it's right and proper. You see how that insane and that sounds, right? You hear how insane that sounds? It's because it is. I know some parents have drank your Kool-Aid, Dr. Matthew Israel. I know because you target them specifically. Individuals who do not have access, not just to the resources, but even the knowledge of the other programs out there. Okay? I know all about it. Their endorsement, their blind loyalty to you and your insanity is a very simple psychological explanation. It's that wanting to believe in magical thinking. They're still living in that grief that society has pushed on them, that their child is a tragedy. We're not tragedies, folks. No child is a tragedy. No child is any more of a burden than any other. Okay? But you have a society that pushes this narrative, the martyr parent narrative. How the fuck do you think that is helping individuals whose kids just got this diagnosis? You think it's a psychologically good idea to immediately basically start speaking to this parent as though the child was died? Because I'm sorry, that's how these conversations start. I've had one. Oh, she'll never be able to do this, do that, do this, do that, do this, do that. But I'm the kind of individual bitch that will sit there and hear this list and be like, yeah, I'm going to do all of these. Hold my tea mug. I'm gonna go wreck some shit. Yeah. Guess what, parents? None of that the doctor told my aunt or my mother ever happened. Stop buying what they're selling you. And that's the first step. The next step is start researching these things. And then start fighting like fucking hell, especially in the communities that the JRC target, people of color communities. Start advocating, start fucking fighting so that the resources you all deserve are going to be available for you in your communities. I've been fighting for it for fucking years. That is one of the biggest problems that allows schools like this to continue to exist. These people know what they're doing. They know who they're preying upon. And they've got the politicians, the judges, everyone in their back fucking pocket. It's time to remind these bastards of how incredible the power of the small can be. And I'm going to go ahead and close on that. Folks, we don't get very many views on this channel. The few that we do tend to get removed from time to time, so please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and don't forget to hit those comments. I do appreciate your time, and as always, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. I will see you next video.